You're driving home, it's late, the roads are empty. You check your mirrors out of habit, and that's when you see them, flashing lights, right on your bumper. Your heart does that thing, that little jump. Your palms get slick on the steering wheel. You pull over, turn off the engine, and take a breath. You haven't been drinking, you're not speeding. You didn't run that light, so why are they pulling you over? What would you do right now? Seriously, pause for a second. In your head, what's your first move? Comment below before you keep watching. I'll wait. Most people say the same thing. Be polite. Keep your hands on the wheel. Say yes sir, no sir, and that's good advice. That's fine. But here's what nobody tells you. While you're being polite, while you're trying to cooperate, you could be doing one tiny thing, one small, almost invisible move. And that move? It just gave the police legal grounds to search your entire car. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you're guilty, but because of a tiny decision you made without even realizing it. And here's the part that should scare you. Most people do this exact thing every single time they get pulled over. They think it's harmless, they think it's just being helpful, but that's not what's actually happening. What's actually happening is you're handing over your rights on a silver platter, and the officer hasn't even asked you a second question yet. Stay with me, because this next part matters. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand something that very few people know. Something that could save you from a nightmare scenario that plays out thousands of times every single day on American roads. I've spent weeks going through police body cam footage, court transcripts, and expert testimony from defense attorneys who specialize in traffic stops and vehicle searches, and what I found is disturbing. Not because police are evil, most aren't, but because the system is designed in a way that allows a routine stop to turn into a full-blown search based on almost nothing, based on a gesture, based on a word, based on a single micro move that you probably make without thinking. So here's the clear promise of this video. By the time you finish watching, you will know exactly what that move is. You will understand why it triggers legal grounds for a search. You will learn the 3 words that stop it cold, and you will never look at a traffic stop the same way again. Let's rewind. Let me put you back in that driver's seat. The officer approaches your window. You roll it down. The first thing out of their mouth is almost always the same. Do you know why I pulled you over? Now, most people panic. They start guessing. Was I speeding? Did I drift out of my lane? Did my brake light go out? Stop right there. That guessing game, that's the first trap. Because when you start guessing, you're admitting uncertainty. And uncertainty, in the mind of an officer, looks like nervousness. And nervousness looks like reasonable suspicion. But that's not the tiny move I'm talking about. That's a separate mistake. A big one, but not the one that gives them legal grounds to search. The tiny move happens next. The officer says, "Can I see your license and registration?" And most people, almost everyone, immediately reaches for the glove box. That's it. That's the move. Reaching. Especially reaching without being explicitly told where to reach. Or worse, reaching before you've even confirmed that they're asking for permission versus demanding compliance. Here's the psychology they don't teach you in driver's ed. The moment your hand moves toward the glove box, the center console, the side door pocket, or anywhere out of plain sight, you have just introduced an element of unknown. The officer cannot see what you're reaching for. They cannot see if you're grabbing your registration or something else. And in that split second, their training kicks in. Officer safety. They are trained to treat any unexpected reaching as a potential threat. But here's the legal twist. That reaching motion, combined with any hesitation, any fumbling, any change in your demeanor, can be interpreted as suspicious behavior. And suspicious behavior is the foundation of probable cause. But wait, let me be more specific, because this is where people get confused. There's a difference between what an officer can ask you to do and what you voluntarily do. If an officer asks for your license and registration, and you say, "Okay, it's in the glove box, I'm going to reach for it now," that's one thing, but most people don't announce it. They just move. And that unannounced movement, especially if it's sudden, gives the officer legal cover to say, "I saw the driver reach toward an area where weapons could be hidden, and I feared for my safety, so I conducted a protective sweep of the vehicle." That's a direct quote from actual police testimony in hundreds of court cases. And once they start that protective sweep, once they open the glove box, or the center console, or look under the seat, they don't need a warrant. Because the protective sweep exception to the Fourth Amendment allows them to search areas where a weapon could be hidden. And guess what fits in a glove box? A small firearm. A knife, a taser, anything. So now they're legally inside your stuff. And if they see something else while they're in there, a baggie, a pipe, a pill bottle, anything that looks even slightly suspicious, that's now admissible in court. You just lost your suppression motion before you even got arrested. But here's where it gets even more twisted. Even if you don't reach suddenly, even if you move slowly and announce what you're doing, there's another tiny move that destroys your rights. And this one is even more common. Are you ready? The officer asks, "Do you mind if I take a quick look inside your car? Or you don't have anything illegal in here, do you? Or would you mind stepping out for a second so I can just make sure everything's okay?" And most people say yes, because they think they have nothing to hide. Because they want to be cooperative. Because they're afraid that saying no makes them look guilty. But here's the truth. They don't want you to know. The moment you say yes or sure or go ahead, you have just voluntarily consented to a search. And voluntary consent bypasses the Fourth Amendment entirely. No warrant needed. No probable cause needed. No reasonable suspicion needed. Just your tiny little word. Sure. And that word is legally binding. You cannot take it back. You cannot say, actually wait, I changed my mind once they find something. The courts have consistently ruled that consent, once given freely and voluntarily, is valid even if you later regret it. Even if you didn't know you had the right to say no. Even if the officer made it sound like it wasn't really a choice. Now let me pause here and ask you a hard question. Have you ever said yes to a police officer asking to search your car? Have you ever reached for your registration without being told exactly how to move? If you have, you got lucky. But luck isn't a strategy, and the next time, that luck might run out. This is the part where I show you the wrong way versus the right way. Let me paint you two scenes. Same driver, same car, same officer. Completely different outcomes. Wrong way. Officer approaches. Can I see your license and registration? Driver immediately reaches for the glove box, fumbles around, pulls out a stack of papers, drops the registration on the floor, bends down to pick it up. Officer sees the sudden movement, the reaching, the bending out of sight. Officer says, "Step out of the vehicle for me." Driver steps out. Officer says, "Do you mind if I take a quick look inside?" Driver says, "I guess so." Officer finds something. Driver gets arrested. Driver loses their car. Driver spends the night in a cell wondering what just happened. Right way. Officer approaches. "Can I see your license and registration?" Driver keeps both hands on the steering wheel. Driver says, "Officer, my license is in my back pocket. My registration is in the glove box. How would you like me to retrieve them?" That single question changes everything. Because now you're not moving without permission. You're asking for direction. You're removing the element of surprise. Most officers will tell you exactly what to do. Slowly reach for your back pocket. Slowly open the glove box. And by following their instructions, you never create that moment of ambiguity that gives them legal cover to search. Then the officer says, "Do you mind if I take a quick look inside?" Right way driver says, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." That's it. That's the magic sentence. I do not consent to any searches. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to yell it. You say it calmly, respectfully, clearly, and then you shut up. You don't explain why. You don't say because I have nothing to hide but I know my rights. You just state it, and then you stop talking. Here's why that works. Once you withhold consent, the officer now needs either probable cause or a warrant to search your car. And probable cause is a much higher bar than most people realize. They can't just say he seemed nervous. They need specific, articulable facts. And if they don't have those facts, they cannot legally search. And if they search anyway, anything they find gets thrown out of court. That's the exclusionary rule. That's your shield. But here's the part nobody talks about. Even if you do everything right, the officer might still try to pressure you. They might say things like, "If you have nothing to hide, why won't you let me look?" Or "I'm just trying to get you out of here faster." Or "By refusing, you're making this difficult." This is psychological warfare. And it works on almost everyone. Because we are wired to want to be liked. We are wired to avoid conflict. We are wired to cooperate with authority figures. The officer knows this. They use it. And that's exactly why you need to have your response memorized before you ever see those flashing lights in your rearview mirror. Let me tell you about a real case. It's not a famous Supreme Court case. It's a routine traffic stop from Nebraska. A woman named Sarah gets pulled over for a broken taillight. She's a nurse, clean record, no drugs, no alcohol, nothing illegal in the car except an expired registration sticker she forgot to renew. Officer asks for her license and registration. She reaches into her glove box. While her hand is inside, the officer claims he saw the corner of a plastic baggie. He orders her out, searches the entire car, finds nothing illegal except that expired registration. But here's the kicker. He also finds her prescription medication in her purse. The prescription is valid. It's in her name. But because he saw the baggie, which turned out to be a crumpled receipt, he had probable cause to search the whole vehicle, including her purse. She spent 4 hours on the side of the road while they tore her car apart. She was late to pick up her kid from daycare. She got a ticket for the taillight and the registration. And she had no legal recourse because the search was deemed lawful. The officer's testimony, "I saw what appeared to be drug paraphernalia. That's all it took." Do you see how fragile your rights are? Do you see how one tiny movement, one unannounced reach, one fumbled answer can create a chain reaction that ends with your car being torn apart on the side of the road? Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I don't have anything illegal, so why does it matter? That's the wrong question. The right question is, do you want strangers rummaging through your personal belongings? Do you want your glove box emptied onto the asphalt? Do you want your gym bag opened? Your laptop case unzipped? Your kid's backpack searched? Because once that door opens, once that consent is given, or that probable cause is established, they don't just look in one place. They can search the entire passenger compartment, the trunk, closed containers inside the car, your purse, your backpack, anything that could contain the object they're searching for. And here's the psychological trigger most people miss. The fear of being perceived as guilty is so powerful that it overrides the fear of being searched. People would rather let an officer poke around their car than risk a 5-second awkward conversation about refusing consent. That's human nature. That's social anxiety. And that's exactly what the system counts on. But let me give you the insider knowledge. The thing very few people know, even if you refuse consent, even if you keep your hands visible and announce every move, there is still one more trap. One more tiny move. Are you ready? The officer asks you to step out of the vehicle. You step out. That's fine. They can do that. Pennsylvania v. Mims, 1977. Supreme Court said officers can order a driver out of the car during a traffic stop for officer safety. You have to comply. But here's the tiny move. As you step out, you close the car door. Most people do it automatically. They shut the door, and that's fine. But what if you don't close it all the way? What if you leave it slightly ajar? That changes things. Because if the officer then looks into the open door and sees something in plain view, that's legal, the plain view doctrine. They didn't search, they just looked. And if they see a weapon or contraband in plain view through that open door, now they have probable cause to search the entire vehicle. So here's the counterintuitive move. When you step out, close the door completely. Don't slam it, but close it. Remove the plain view opportunity. It's a small thing, but small things win or lose these encounters. Let me give you the step-by-step breakdown that could save you from a nightmare. Step 1. Pull over safely. Turn off the engine. Turn on your interior light if it's dark. Roll down your window all the way. Place both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. Do not reach for anything. Do not dig in your pockets. Do not open the glove box. Nothing. Step 2. When the officer asks for your license and registration, say this exactly. Officer, my license is in my wallet in my back pocket. My registration is in the glove box. How would you like me to retrieve them? Then wait for instructions. Step 3. If they ask if they can search your car, say this exactly. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then stop talking. Do not argue. Do not explain. Do not say because I know my rights. Just silence. Step 4. If they search anyway, do not physically resist. Do not argue. Let them do what they're going to do. But say, clearly, I do not consent to this search. Say it on body camera. Say it loud enough to be heard. That preserves your right to fight it in court later. Step 5. If you are arrested, say nothing except, I want to remain silent and I want a lawyer. Those two things. Nothing else. Not, I didn't do it. Not, you're making a mistake. Not, can I just explain? Nothing. Silence is power. Now I want to be clear about something. This is not anti-police advice. This is pro-knowledge advice. The vast majority of police officers are doing a difficult job in a high-stress environment. They make split-second decisions. And your goal is not to be difficult or disrespectful. Your goal is to be clear, calm, and legally informed. You can be respectful and still protect your rights. In fact, that's the only way this works. The moment you get angry or argumentative, you've lost. You've given them an entirely different reason to escalate. Disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, obstructing an officer. All of those charges start with a raised voice or a sarcastic comment. So here's the psychological reframe. Don't think of this as confrontation. Think of it as information management. You are simply not providing the information or the movement or the consent that would allow the stop to expand into a search. You are staying inside the narrow boundaries of the original traffic stop, the broken taillight, the expired registration, the rolling stop, whatever it was. You are not giving them the tiny move that turns a citation into a catastrophe. Let me leave you with one final thought. And this is the part one I want you to remember long after this video ends. Every single day, thousands of people consent to searches they don't have to consent to. Every single day, thousands of people reach for their glove box without being told how to reach. Every single day, thousands of people say sure or go ahead or I guess so because they're nervous, because they want to be polite, because they're afraid of seeming guilty. And most of those people have nothing illegal in their cars. They walk away fine, but some of them don't. Some of them have a prescription bottle that's not in the original container. Some of them have a friend's backpack in the back seat with something they didn't know about. Some of them have a folded receipt that looks like a baggie to a trained eye. Some of them are driving a car that was borrowed from someone who didn't tell them everything. And those people, their lives get turned upside down. Not because they committed a crime, but because of a tiny move, a single reach, a single word, a single moment of not knowing what they didn't know, you know now. So here's my question for you in the comments. Have you ever been asked for consent to search your car? What did you say? And if you could go back, would you say something different? I read every comment, and I want to hear your real stories. If you got value from this, if you learned something that might protect you or someone you love, do me a favor. Share this video with one person. Just one. Text it to a friend. Send it to your mom. Put it in a group chat. Because most people will never search for this information, but they might watch it if you send it to them. And that one share might be the thing that stops them from making the tiny move that costs them everything. Keep your hands on the wheel, keep your mouth shut when it matters, and never ever forget that your rights don't disappear just because someone turned on a flashing light. You just have to remember to use them. And that starts right now, right here, with what you just learned.